Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the West Lindsey series. This is one of the 9 districts of Lincolnshire and one of the county's most rural. It has 128 civil parishes. Let's see which one this episode's all about. Okay, today in West Lindsey, I'm beginning on a roundabout. I'm going to show you that roundabout in just a second. And here, on the roundabout, there's a racetrack. This is Canby Corner Raceway. This, however, does not fall within today's parish because the roundabout in question is a quadpoint. It's where 4 civil parishes all meet, and part of the road, part of the area around the roundabout falls within one of those 4. Here's a map of the roundabout. Here we go. Oh, a bit of undergrowth here, but there we are. So we are currently in this quadrant here. This belongs to Glentham. Up there, that quadrant belongs to Hemswell Cliff. That quadrant over there belongs to Glentworth, and we are concerned today with this quadrant here. That belongs to Caenby. The West Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Ropery Road or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Canby Corner is a well-known roundabout to most people who travel around West Lindsey and beyond. It's named after the village of Caenby, which is not far away. Despite that, the roundabout forms a quad point where 4 parishes all meet. Over the road here is the former Monk's Arms Hotel, which was for many years derelict. In 2007, there were plans to redevelop it. Despite the recladding to the outside of the building, the hotel has never reopened. It lies within the Canby quadrant. Also lying within Caenby's quadrant is the directly adjacent Transport Cafe and Lorry Park. The Canby Corner Racetrack lies within Glentham, and the 2 villages share many connections. As for the road itself, the A15 was of course a major Roman road known as Ermine Street, leading from London to the north of England. Canby Corner lies 10 miles north of Lincoln along it. Within the Hemswell Cliff quadrant of the roundabout, there's a petrol station with a shop and a relatively new branch of Starbucks. Now we're going to see the village itself, and officially the parish boundaries include some properties that you might otherwise think were in neighbouring Glentham. This is the High Street, which runs all the way from Glentham through the village. These houses are within Canby Parish, and so is Glentham's Methodist Church, which is over the road. The building was once a village institute, providing accommodation for visiting theatre companies, becoming a Methodist church in 1911. It's the only Methodist church remaining within a 7-mile radius. So now we're in Caenby Village, which officially starts up there. The border with Glentham is literally about where that car is, about now. And Caenby Village itself is really small. This is like the first house in the village. It's called the bungalow. And basically I'm just going to walk down here as far as the church and walk back again. And if it takes me any more than about 10 minutes, I'll be surprised. This is a tiny settlement. Caenby and Glentham are treated, population-wise at least, as one whole entity. Glentham Parish Council also covers Caenby, so the border between them doesn't really mean much. Nonetheless, they remain separate civil parishes. The place name Caenby seems to contain an unrecorded Old Norse personal name, Cafni. As we've learned before, the suffix "by" means a farmstead or a village, so this, therefore, is possibly Cafni's farm or settlement. The place appears in the Domesday Book of 1086 as Caenby. It doesn't have any meaningful amenities. The church here is redundant, and there are no shops, nor is there a post office. Mind you, it does still have a postbox. History-wise, there's a little. It has a moated manor house, which is now the Grade 2 listed Hall Farm House. It was a seat of the Tournay family from the time of Edward I to George II. In 1541, Henry VIII slept here whilst on his Lincolnshire progress, and in the 18th century the house was occupied by Lawrence Monk, explaining the name of the Monk's Arms Hotel at Canby Corner. So in the space of just 6 shots, you've basically seen the entire village, virtually every house going. The one thing you haven't seen yet is the church. Now, I don't know how to access this. It's somewhere over here, behind this tree, behind this wall somewhere. I think there might be a footpath leading to it, but I'm not totally sure. There's only one way to find out, isn't there? In the past, Caenby has also been spelt Canby, C-A-N-N-B-Y. In 1945, fields adjacent to Caenby were a military Q decoy site maintained by RAF Hemswell. Dummy plywood buildings, inflatable rubber aircraft or vehicles, and a ploughed faux runway were set up to simulate an active airfield and draw German bombers away from genuine target airfields. Some of those fields can be traversed by footpath today. You can tell by this point I was kind of clutching at straws for things to film. Mind you, the church could possibly still come to my rescue, right? So it would appear that entry to the church here in Caenby is off limits, because this track looks like it leads to it, but it's a locked gate. And where I was before, last time I spoke to the camera, that's also a locked gate too. So the church is apparently on private land and off limits, which is a bit disappointing. Not much I can do about it though. I don't give up that easily. Yes, the church is off limits, but I found some nice pictures of it. It might be redundant, but it remains a Grade 2 listed building dedicated to St. Nicholas. There was a church here prior to the Norman conquest. The modern version of it was restored in 1869, and it can only seat 72 people. It was declared redundant by the Diocese of Lincoln in March 1975 before being gifted as a monument in October of 1982. I ambled back towards the start, catching this on the way. This is a post with some reflectors on it. Caenby has no street lighting, so at night this can aid you whilst driving. And that can be found right next to the first set of gates which leads towards the church. Despite it being redundant, I would have thought the public could still access it, but what do I know, eh? And it feels like this one's only just started, but that's it. There's nothing more to tell you about Caenby. It's so small, and it's ridiculous. You can see almost from one end of the village to the other. Of course, the church would have featured in video form if I'd been able to get to it, but obviously with it being behind lock gates ×2, there's not a lot I can do about that. So yeah, at least you got it in a different way in picture form. So that's the parish of Caenby, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and for now, I'm out.